Hello everybody, Isaac here. I'm bored. When I'm bored, I like to play video games. Which I play? So many options. You know, I've been meaning to play Metopia. It might be nice to see how that is. Oh shoot! Whippersnappers! Oh Jesus! With your high-def resolutions and online multiplayer, wireless waggle bars. We didn't need none of that back in my day. Who are you? The name's Vectrix Kalika, second try. That's Mr. VCS to you, Johnny boy! Wait, so what are you doing here? I'm here to tell you to stop wasting your time with those newfangled 3D double screen doodads. You need a crash course on the games that started it all. Huh? I'm talking about retro games, boy! Oh, you want retro games? Okay, how about Mega Man and Bass for the Game Boy Advance? Is that what you call retro? 16 years, that seems pretty retro to me. We need to go further back in time. Okay, what about Earthbound? Further. Donkey Kong? Further! You madman! We can't go much further back! Then let's go the furthest we can possibly go. We're going back to the very beginning! Wait! You couldn't possibly mean... Yes. Yes. Pong! Okay, well, this is fun, but I don't see how I can make a full video about it. Oh, well then I guess you're just going to need to review all 100 games in this collection, Atari Vault, available on Steam. Okay, I guess that makes sense. 100 games?! This is my first game review! I can't just review 100 games at once! You will if you know it's good for you. How did you even get in my house? Okay, I'll do it, just please stop looking at me like that. I make no promises. Let's review Atari Vault. This is a collection of 100 classic games from Atari, mostly from the 2600, but there's also some original arcade games in there, along with some of their 2600 ports for good measure. I'm going to cover almost all of the games in this video, although some of them more in-depth than others. To be honest, a few of these games I didn't quite get or just don't have a lot to say about. But before we talk about the games themselves, let's talk about the menu options! For most of the games, you have lots of different customization options, like the kind that you change by flipping switches on the original machine, but it also has a lot more display options, like simulated scan lines and borders. And my favorite addition of all is that it includes scans of all of the original instruction manuals, because I couldn't understand half of these games without them. Now getting to the actual games, first up we've got 3D Tic-Tac-Toe. It's like Tic-Tac-Toe, but it's got 4 4x4 grids stacked on top of each other. You know, in case you thought Tic-Tac-Toe needed to be even more complicated. Adventure! A game where you run around a maze, picking up oversized keys and stabbing monsters that look more like ducks than dragons with swords, in the simplest combat I've ever seen in a game. In air-sea battle, you gotta explode these planes with the most inconvenient cannon controls ever. Asteroids, the first of many space games in this collection. Fly around and destroy asteroids in a dark soulless void, or play the deluxe version and destroy asteroids in a less dark soulless void. Also, you can teleport around somehow. Then there's the gambling games, backgammon, blackjack, casino, and slot machine, which I don't really get. I was never the biggest fan of these kinds of games anyway, but I get that some people think it's fun. But a slot machine? What's the point of a slot machine with no reward? How is that a game? I'm confused. Basic math. You solve math problems. It's math homework as a game. Basketball is basketball. Black Widow is one of the games in this collection that I didn't really understand how to work it, but I don't like creepy crawly bugs, so I'm just gonna pass on this one. Bowling is a pretty fun bowling video game. There's different modes where you can either throw curveballs or even steer the ball. Brain games! They're called that because my brain can't understand them. Breakout, the original break bricks with a paddle ball game, which I am pretty bad at. Canyon Bomber, where you bomb the canyon with helicopters. Pretty self-explanatory. Centipede, the game where a giant bug runs around a forest of mushrooms and you have to kill it. The controls can be a bit awkward sometimes, but it's vastly improved with the sequel, Millipede. Championship Soccer sure is soccer. Checkers and chess. It's checkers and chess. If you like checkers and chess, then that's cool. Circus Atari is like Breakout, but instead of a ball, you're playing with human lives. Codebreaker! How am I even supposed to? Combat was the game that was packaged with the original 2600. Pretty basic tank game that would probably be more fun if I had a second player. It is kind of funny to watch this tank get knocked around. Combat 2 is slightly more complex, with more maps and giving the characters shields and explosions, but it's still multiplayer only. Concentration! I'll be honest, I'm not even sure how this game works. Crystal Castles, where you join Winnie the Pooh running around a 3D maze that is rather impressive for the time, hoping to collect all the crystals before the monsters. The arcade version is fun and simple, but the 2600 port is a bit harder to play, since even if you stay in the lane, you can somehow still miss the crystals? What? Demons to diamonds. You turn demons into diamonds. Desert Falcon is where you fly what appears to be the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars through the desert and collect artifacts. Dodge'em is like if someone looked at Pac-Man and said, you know what this game is missing? Car crashes. Double Dunk is another, more confusing basketball game. Which one of these is me? I don't understand. Fatal Run is a racing game with some rather impressive programming and graphics for the time. Wow. From what I understand, flag capture is basically Minesweeper. Next is golf. And oh boy, let me tell y'all about golf. This is the worst golf video game I have ever had the misfortune of playing. It is impossible to find out which direction you are going to hit this ball, and more often than not, you get the ball stuck on the wall, and it's really frustrating trying to hit it away from the wall. You know what par for this hole was? 3. You know how many strokes it took me to finally get the ball in the hole? 64! Anyone who gets this game, I triple dog dare you to try and get a hole-in-one. I am convinced that it is impossible. Gravatar is kind of like asteroids, except in this game you can accidentally hurl yourself into the sun. Hangman is a pretty normal Hangman game. Nothing too special, except there's this cool thing where while you're selecting the letters, it'll play the alphabet song. I thought that was neat. Haunted House, one of the world's first horror games, has you running around a haunted house and probably doing something, I'm not sure. I always get killed by the ghost before I can figure it out. On the entire opposite end of the spectrum from golf, Home Run is one of the easiest baseball games I've ever played. Human Cannonball is a game where you have to shoot this stick figure guy out of a cannon into a net. Although what is even more fun than winning is watching him go splat on the ground. Please don't take that out of context. Liberator has you trying to shoot down missiles from space with your 4 space cannons. Space! Lunar Lander is the game where you have to land a spacecraft on the moon, which I have only successfully done once, and I have no idea how I did it. Major Havoc is very aptly named because it's one of those games that kind of just throws a bunch of stuff at you really fast with loud noises, and it's kind of confusing, but it's a pretty fun time when you figure it out. Maze Craze is a simple maze game where things are also chasing you and trying to kill you. Kinda like Pac-Man, except there's nothing to collect, and it's way easier to get cornered. Miniature Golf is infinitely better than golf. The controls are way easier, and you can teleport, which makes any game cooler by default. In Missile Command, you have to protect your town from these missiles that someone is firing down, or risk nuclear annihilation of the entire world. Night Driver is basically Fatal Run with the lights turned off. Off the Wall is like Breakout with worms. And I think the game's calling me a peasant. That's a bit rude. Outlaw, another multiplayer-only game that could potentially be fun. Finally, we get to Pong. You all know Pong, right? The first ever commercially successful video game, a simple air hockey game. The only problem is that sometimes the AI gets into an infinite loop and you have to reset the game to break out of it. Quad Run! What What the heck is quad race? A racing game that might be less awkward if I had a real joystick instead of a mouse. Radar Lock is a space shooter that has a bit of a 3D perspective and handles it better than I expected was possible with 2600 technology. There's a lot of games in the Real Sports series, which are basically the most realistic sports games they could get on the Atari when they decide to work properly. My favorite is definitely the tennis game, where I didn't realize I was entering my name, so I accidentally called myself Zva. Oh, and the boxing game is a character select screen, which I did not expect to see here. In Red Baron, you shoot blue planes until you eventually get bored and decide to just spin out and crash. Return to Haunted House appears to be a reskin of Adventure, but with a more haunted house theme. In Save Mary, you have to rescue this woman from a flood, somehow. Also, don't crush her, that would be bad. Sorry, Mary. Secret Quest is where you fight weird nightmare monsters with a flashlight in the sewer? Sentinel appears to be the only light gun game on here, so that's cool. Skydiver is yet another installment in what is quickly becoming my favorite genre, the Watch Pixel Man Go Splat games. Slot Racer is Pac-Man with tanks. Kinda. Oh, Sword Quest! This one has an interesting story behind it. This series was part of a contest where you had to find clues and match them to a comic book that came with it. And eventually you could win actual treasure like a gold crown or a sword. It's really cool that these games are in here, but the contest has been over for decades, so there's not really a good reason to play it. Space Duel is asteroids, but instead of asteroids, they're these weird things. Space War is asteroids versus. Sprint is a racing game with the most awkward controls ever. Sprint Master. If crashing my car is the goal, then I have won. Star Raiders. Where are the things I'm supposed to shoot? Starship. Okay, I'm tired of these space games. Dodge cars in Street Racer, or at least try to. Stunt Cycle. That's enough of that. Submarine Commander. Okay. Super Baseball. It's just baseball again! Super Breakout is Breakout for people who thought Breakout wasn't complicated enough. Super Football. It's football! Surround is like Snake Versus, I think. Tempest is actually a really cool and fun game with vector graphics, except in the much less impressive 2600 port. In Video Cube, you play as the Cube Master and run around a giant Rubik's Cube and change the colors somehow? What is the goal here? Video Olympics is Pong with more options. Warlords is kind of like a four-way versus game of Breakout, but the walls you break are castles, and your ball is a fireball from a dragon. So automatically, I'd say that makes this the best game ever. Last but not least, Yar's Revenge, where you have to destroy this shield and load up the Zorlon cannon to blast the enemy ship out of the sky, which is easier said than done, since they also have this swirl thing that comes out and tries to— Oh! Oh my god! Did you see that? I totally just sniped that thing! I wasn't even trying to do that! That was so awesome! Oh man, that was fun. Wait just a second, boy! You didn't review all the games! What? I reviewed most of them! I couldn't review all of them, or else this video would be hours long! Wait, where did he go? I'm Isaac Munger, and thank you for a wonderful time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. That was my first ever video game review on YouTube, so please let me know what you thought of it in the comments section. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Have a nice day, everybody.